This episode and the entire season is sponsored by California Cryobank. Head to cryobank.com and use code LOVEISLOVE for a free level 2 subscription to their donor catalog. Make those babies and then come talk to me about them.
Love is love on the Queer Family Podcast. Love is love.
Shopping in the men's department for the first time for me, it was like a complete shift. And I was so excited. And I started caring about how I looked. And I had this newfound confidence for sure. And that was like, it came with this new me. That was like my true me. That was like, let go of all that shit. I'm like, now I'm me. And that was like the most exciting time.
Welcome, y'all, to the Queer Family Podcast, the show all about family, but with gay. My name is Jaimie, and I am your queer host. And this is the show that celebrates, highlights, uplifts, and normalizes LGBTQIA plus families in all of our beautiful identities. And you, my beautiful friends, are tuning into what I call the second annual Pride Extravaganza. What does that mean? I'll tell you. All month long, to celebrate Pride, I am bringing you double the episodes of queer family goodness, y'all. Meaning, not only will you get an episode every Monday like normal, you're also going to get an episode every Thursday the entire month of June. And every single one of them is so good, y'all. They are all so good. But before I tell you about today's guests, we have to say a special thank you to our newest Patreon member. Everybody join me in saying a huge thank you to Marin J. Marin J, you rock my world. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much for supporting this little podcast that could hear. It means the world to me. And if any of you have a few extra bucks lying around and you want to support a cause that does some good in the world, all you have to do is head to patreon.com/the Queer Family Podcast, pick a tier, and join. Every little bit helps, and I appreciate each and every one of you for doing your best. And if you don't have a few extra bucks, don't worry about it. Keep listening, keep tuning in, keep subscribing to the show. That helps as well. There's something for everyone here. All right, now, today's guests are the founders of Dapper Boi, which is an inclusive clothing line that is helping to make people of all sizes feel comfortable and confident in their bodies. They are also wives to each other and mothers of 2 6-year-old twins. And they're a lot of fun. And we dig, as we always do, into their family building journey. We dig into their coming out stories, and we dig into what prompted them to start their fantastic clothing line. And I gotta say, talking to them really actually made me think a lot of my story and the reason I started this here show in the first place. Both Dapper Boi and the Queer Family Podcast were basically born from personal struggles. This show was born, I don't know if any of y'all know, but it was born from my own experience, 3 years of infertility, and the lack of just queer-centric fertility stories out there anywhere. I couldn't find anything like mine. And Vicky and Charisse's clothing line, Dapper Boi, came from a discomfort with traditional women's clothing that Vicky had after coming out. And you know how sometimes you get an idea that plants like a seed in your brain and it won't let up? It feels like both Dapper Boi and this podcast were born from seeds like that. I know personally, I got it in my head that somebody needs to create this and it just wouldn't let go. And so I ended up giving in and finally creating it, and I feel like Vicky and Charisse's story is similar to that, which you'll hear. They were both born from frustration, basically, over the lack of representation out there. And these seeds ended up creating something really meaningful for whole communities of people. Vicky and Charisse, Dapper Boi, and the Queer Family Podcast have all built supportive communities which resonate with so many who have felt unseen out there in these straight streets, so to speak. And both of us, Dapper Boi and the Queer Family Podcast, I think highlight the importance of visibility and representation. And that's really why I'm so glad I got to interview them and hear the story of another incessant little seed of an idea that became a movement that mattered to so many. Just really special, you know? And I think more of us need to act on those little seeds of inspiration, those little incessant seeds for the sake of this community and for all the others who feel unseen and unheard out there. Let's lift us all up, right? We all deserve a voice, every single one of us. And we all deserve to feel seen and heard. Amen and hallelujah. All right, I'm going to get off my high horse, my podium over here, and I'm going to bring you this interview. But I hope you're all enjoying your Pride Month. I'm having a great time, even though I'm busy AF with family and pride and work and all the things. But it still means the world to me to have all of you who continue to tune in and continue to go out there and be yourselves and push boundaries and not back down. Isn't that spirit of pride? Here we go. Happy Pride, mother effers. I don't know, whatever. Okay. All right. It's time. Helen, Beulah, Nicole, Jerson, my whole team of people that really doesn't exist. Roll that tape, please. Enjoy.
Queer Family Podcast. Love is love.
Hi, Vicky and Charisse.
Hello.
It is wonderful having you here. We just went through about a half hour of technical challenges.
All good.
But
I feel like we
here.
already know you during this time frame. So no, thank you for having us. We're so stoked to be here. You're our people. It's exciting.
You know what? Let's just do it. I said I wasn't going to put you on the spot, but here I go.
What?
I'm going to put you on the spot. You're going to give your 30-second elevator pitch to our listeners of who you are and why you're here talking to the Queer Fam Squad. On your marks. Get set. Go.
All right. So hi, everyone. I'm Vicky.
I'm Charisse.
And we're the co-founders of Dapper Boi. And so Dapper Boi is an all-gender, size-inclusive clothing brand. And our whole mission is to inspire folks to find their confidence in their being most authentic selves through clothing. We are moms of twin 6-year-olds.
Yeah, we have twin 6-year-olds, Reese and Tori. And so Reese is a shortened version of my name, and Tori is a shortened version of Victoria. I did try to name our girls Charisse Jr., but Vicky vetoed it. So I'm probably over the 30 seconds, but I feel like that little bit was worth it.
That was very worth it.
We're partners in business. We're partners in life. And I am her better half.
It's true. It's true.
Oh
She's
my
not
God,
shy
boom.
about that.
You did flow over, but that is okay because you got everything you needed. I am excited to hear more about Dapper Boi and the cool stuff you are doing to help really our community and anybody else feel comfy and confident in all the things. But before we get into that, I do want to dig into your story and your family journey and all of that, because as you know, every single LGBTQIA plus family building journey is extremely unique and beautiful. So I want to get into that. Can we take it back? Take it back before twins, when the two of you met. Let's take it there.
All right. You want to get started with
Yeah.
that?
So we actually, it's like full circle moment, because I had this business idea and I had heard that Vicky had this genius marketing mind. And so I brought her on. I had originally started wanting to start a business together. We were meeting weekly, and then
It was called Hey Girl Hey here in San Diego.
Yeah.
And it was like a gay network for, social network in San Diego.
Why do I feel like I've heard of this already?
We definitely flagged the streets with Hey Girl Hey stickers at the time. This is back in maybe 2012.
2012. Around Pride 2012. So that was fun, but Vicky ruined it because she fell madly in love with me. So then we did the lesbian thing, we nested, and then we U-hauled after a month. And then,
as you do.
Listen, this is let's get the real story here. I mean,
okay, stop. We have
Charisse is a boss, okay? And in the beginning, it was nothing. Yeah. It was nothing, no hanky panky going on in the beginning. It was just strictly business. And then she's got a little shell here that I was able to break down a bit. Yeah. And we had to, when we were going out into the scene and interviewing people about their lives and their coming out stories and things like that, we were like, okay, let's get some liquid courage. We were
Yeah.
talking to each other, getting to know each other. And it was just week after week. And yes, it's true. I did fall madly in love with her. And yeah, it all happened quickly.
Brownie points.
But she was a tough one to knock down, I tell you what.
Okay, so let's take it back. So you're working together, but how did you know each other? How did you hear of each other?
Her girlfriend at the time was actually one of my friends. It's kind of a crazy story. And they were, of course,
lesbian.
It's very lesbian.
Yes.
It's a very small community at that time, or still is, honestly.
Yeah,
But that's how we actually ended up meeting, through that way.
Okay, and you were both living that gay life when you met.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I had newly kind of come out. For me, it was 2010. And I was in a relationship. This is like the real gossip here, with like a straight woman
Inside
for
details.
4.5 years. Okay. And then
Like a secret relationship?
Secret. Like we would always get 2-bedroom apartments because we were roommates for 4.5 years.
Yep.
And so when I had like come out, we'd broken up, I was like, what is this gayborhood scene? And that's when I had chopped my hair and like started going out, and I was, living the life during that time for sure.
Vicky, now hold up, wait a minute. You say I was dating a straight woman, but you were a straight woman. I mean, I'm doing quote unquote.
Right. Exactly.
Totally.
Yeah.
You were.
Yeah, you gotta
You're
throw
right.
yourself.
You are right.
In that
I've never heard that
category
being.
too.
No, totally. Here's what I mean by that. I was the only woman that this person had ever been with. She never even, I don't think, ever told anyone that we had dated even all that time. So I was actually like always like, throughout our relationship, I knew that I was a lesbian and she was not. Yeah.
Right.
And so,
oh God, that's hard.
Yeah,
That's
it was.
hard.
It was, but I was not out, and so I was living that life, and it was very secretive for so long. There were very, very few friends that knew.
Just the close ones.
Yep.
Just the close
Yep.
ones. Wow. Okay. So then you finally got into the gayborhood. You got your toaster.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and then you started living the gay life. And it was like, and then you came out to everybody? Like, what was that like?
Yeah. So for me, it was, again, so when we had broken up in 2010, I was so heartbroken. And that was my coming out. I remember, because I'm from upstate New York, living in San Diego. And so I had come out to my parents literally in the car, because they were just like, we were having these conversations all the time. I talked to them on the phone all the time. And they knew something was up, and they're like, what is going on with you? And I pulled over to the side of the road, literally on my way to work. And I was like, I just need to tell them. And I said, Mom, Dad, they had me on speaker. I just need to let you know, me and blank broke up. And they were just like that's how I said it. And they were quiet for sure. Yeah, exactly. And they were like, the first thing they said was, we were waiting for you to tell us.
Yeah.
So that was such a relief. Yeah. It was such a relief.
It makes me want to cry, because that's what you want to hear. Okay, so you got a great response and it was fine, right? Like, that's what you want, right? Like, how old were you?
So I was 28, I think, 28 years old. What's interesting is like they were so accepting right off the bat, and then it was so much easier to tell, everybody around them. But my mom, soon after, and she always regrets saying this, but this is important to hear too. And I think once she started seeing me, because then I was like, at that time it was Facebook, everything. And so I was putting on Facebook all these crazy photos. I'm like partying, I'm going to the bars. I'm like every single night. It was ridiculous. And she was like writing letters like, Vicky, I don't know about this lifestyle, and like she actually asked me one day, you're not going to start dressing like a boy, are you?
Yeah.
And I remember, I'll never forget that. And it's so funny because it wasn't coming from a place of judgment. It was coming from a place of protection for me at that time. She was so worried about what other people were going to say and how they were going to treat me. And it's just so funny that years later, I, start a whole clothing line. It's like,
it's amazing.
Right. Yeah. And she loves
Foreshadowing.
it. She wears the clothes. Like, that's what's so awesome about this. And I have the most amazing supportive parents, but I'll never forget that moment.
But isn't it funny how with these coming out stories, or these coming out journeys, isn't it funny how certain teeny tiny things that folks say that they meant nothing by can really stick with you and actually like cut?
Yes.
Even though I know you don't, I know you love me. I know
right.
it really is like, I'm sure everybody has something that was said during their journey that still, when you think about it, really cuts. I have one too. It's interesting. I have one more question and then I want to hear yours. And we're really diving deep into this coming out thing. I wasn't expecting this.
I wasn't expecting that either.
I'm into it. See, this is how it goes. I go where the conversation takes.
Yeah.
But my question
I don't think
to
we've
you,
ever told the
Vicky.
story either, actually.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Well, here we go.
Exclusive tea.
Inside information. But Vicky, my question is, why do you think it took so long for you to get to the coming out place?
Well, you're going deep.
Yeah,
okay.
that's
I am.
Yeah.
I am.
You know, I had dated guys my whole life. And I just remember feeling like such a fear, again, of judgment, especially when I moved to California, San Diego, from upstate New York back in 2005 after I graduated from college. I secretly had, quite a few crushes on girls like my whole life, and
Yeah.
and
Me
so
too.
yeah, but I had been always like kind of hiding that, and just dating guys, but nothing was ever serious. There was one boyfriend I remember in like high school that was, that I actually had feelings
Captain
for.
of the football team.
Yeah,
Like
football, like all that is crazy. So I always held on to that. And I feel like I was just trying so hard to just like guys. Even when I moved to San Diego, I looked totally different.
It's
Long
also
hair and all
like
that.
you were a product of your environment too. How many gay people were in
Right,
your
true.
town?
Not that we knew of. There
Right.
wasn't many gay folks.
So coming
in
out
my school
would have been like a big thing.
Yeah. So I think I was just always trying to hold out for that. But then I realized my hookups with guys were very just, some would have feelings and I would never have feelings ever,
Right.
and I
Right.
really was attracted to women like the most. And so like once I really came into my own and started dating a woman, which like we worked together and everything, and that would just happen by accident. And then it turned into this full blown relationship, this secret one. I knew like that second, like this is that my trajectory here, in life. And I wasn't looking back. That's for sure. I never even I don't look at guys like that anyway. And I think it also comes with like my own shift in confidence in myself. And like,
Right.
especially when I cut my hair and started doing that, then I was really not going back. And I don't think
Right.
in that way, it's just so interesting, like
Yeah.
how you morph,
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's interesting too how, and I'm saying this because you have a clothing line, and I'm thinking in this frame because I've never said this or thought this, but it is interesting how appearance and your own personal appearance can really make a difference in in how you show up, in how you feel comfortable
Totally.
showing up.
100%. Yeah. I think it's just like I was finally my confident self. Like once we had not even Dapper Boi before that, like shopping in the men's department for the first time for me, it was like a complete shift. And I was so excited. And I started caring about how I looked. And I had this newfound confidence for sure. And that was like, it came with this new me. That was like my true me. That was like, let go of all that shit. I'm like, now I'm me. And that was like the most exciting time.
I really love that. And it is food for thought, really. I'm gonna ruminate on that. I'm saying words I never say. I don't know who I am right now, but
I love it.
I'm gonna ruminate on that a little bit. Okay, let's switch it over to Charisse. Tell us your coming out story.
I was always like the girl that hung out with the gay boys. And apparently one night I get so wasted that I see this girl, speaking of crushes, I see this girl from my high school that I recognize that I totally had a crush on, was like a basketball player, like totally my vibe. Apparently, I gave her my phone number because I wake up to all these text messages that we were like texting each other throughout the night. And as the weeks progressed, I just was like looking forward to her text messages. And it was like kind of weird to me because I was like, I don't usually feel this way about girls. The night before my birthday, she had invited me to meet up with her. And I get super excited, get all dressed up, and I walk into the club and I see her making out with another girl. And it just broke my new little almost lesbian heart. So I remember waking up on my 25th birthday, just like so emotional. And it wasn't necessarily that I was heartbroken over her. It was that I went to bed, quote unquote, straight. And I woke up with these very conflicting feelings. Like I felt like I woke up a different person. So I decided to do this like test, and I knew that I needed like a large enough sample size. So what I did was I went on this dating website and I went on a date from Monday to Friday with guys. And I told myself, if even one of these dates goes well, then I'm totally not gay. And every single one of them sucks. So I just have been gay ever since then.
She went full
Holy
blown
shit.
in.
Yeah.
I feel like I just learned so much about you. You created a control group.
Yes, I did.
And did you tell anybody you were going through this or doing this, or this was all just like,
I told a couple of my gay boys and they thought I was like going through a bi phase. And I was like, no, I'm not going to play this gray area. I'm like, I am or I'm not. And so, I mean, and it would have bothered me, you know? So then after that, then I just started dating girls like full on, and it was awesome. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And that's like also very interesting being very femme, because you're like, okay, I'm used to like putting out this femme energy. Am I going to date femmes? I'm going to date like more like short hair girls. I decided like femme wasn't my vibe. They're so good to look at and be like super fun with, you know? But like, you know, look at Vicky Smell. She was just, we were meant to be forever. But yeah, I just, yeah, it was an interesting journey. So I came out to my mom. I dated this girl, really, really liked her, and she broke my new little baby gay heart. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to call my mom, and I at least have to, like, something positive has to come out of this. I came out to my mom. She wasn't like really feeling it, thought it was just a phase. And then I didn't tell my dad the whole time.
So we met, you know, doing the business in 2012. And so he didn't know that whole time. And then it was so funny because I took her family to like a lunch. This is like how I was introduced. And it was like completely shocker style. Like there was no warning to anybody. They just knew as soon as they saw me. And I just remember, you know, they're traditional, you know, she's first generation Filipino.
Yeah.
And so her dad walked in and he just literally looked me up and down and just grunted.
He's like, yeah, no words for Vicky.
There was no words. It was like, oh,
like
shit.
coming out. But when I did, I finally decided, and I can tell you more about like our engagement story, because that's another wild, like, but very direct story. But when we were I asked Vicky, like, when are you going to propose and everything? And she was like, I can't propose to you unless you tell your dad. So I tell my dad, and he had said to me, just because gay marriage is legal now doesn't mean you have to get married. And we didn't know my dad was going to come to the wedding until like the day before. So it was like a very emotional time. But he came, and you know what? My parents were like one of the last ones at the wedding. I got so drunk at the wedding. Vicky's parents carried me out. So like before they carried me out, my parents left. And then, yeah.
But yeah, we ended up like really bonding, actually, her dad and I. And it took a lot of years, actually. But then we became so comfortable with one another. And I had a really great relationship with him while he was alive. He ended up passing in 2019.
Yeah.
But
oh my God, my dad too. I'm
Aw.
sorry. And same.
Yeah, I'm sorry for you too.
Thanks. Yeah. Wow. Well, that's great though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like my parents, it wasn't necessarily about like them being comfortable with me coming out. It was like the whole process was like very easy for them because Vicky made it so easy. Like they truly love Vicky for the person that she is. And so, you know, it didn't really matter that I was marrying another woman. They just like were so happy that I had found somebody really as my soulmate. Yeah.
You found your person, and
my
you know,
person.
your family, you know, will see that, right?
Yeah.
When did baby making come into the conversation? Because this is a thing that we have to talk about pretty early on, usually, because we got to be on the same page because there's so many decisions to make, right? So when did that conversation come in?
I feel like we were pretty on board, like even when we started dating.
Yeah,
like,
we've been
had those
talking about it
conversations
since
early.
we were, early in our relationship. We weren't, actually, this was not a rush thing after we got married.
Yeah, you took a while.
I feel like Dapper Boi was first. Dapper Boi, we conceived on our honeymoon. Vicky talked to me about wanting to start Dapper Boi on our honeymoon. So that was our primary focus.
So we were married in 2014. We had the girls in 2018. But we had tried, you know, IUIs, you know, failed IUIs for probably
and a
a
half.
year and a half leading up to that. We had 2 IUIs and then our IVF.
So I'm going to pause you here because this is the details we got to get into. So what was the conversation surrounding how you were going to do it? Because there's so many ways, right? So how'd you make the decision and all this stuff?
We're super lucky because we had a bunch of friends that had done it before. I remember we were at a party and a couple of our friends were talking about the process that they were going through. So it kind of intrigued us. We went to a fertility doctor and then I found out that I have PCOS. So I had to have a surgery to remove some polyps. Then we went through the process of like, I think it was on like metformin and doing like the ultrasounds. And then we had gone to another fertility clinic and done the IUI process. One we had done in office that failed. And then we did another one where we actually bought the sperm, brought it home and tried it at home. All with like the perfect timing of like doing medication and getting ultrasounds and all of that.
Okay, I'm stopping. I got it because we got to break it all. We're going to break it. We're going to break it down. So, Charisse, it was going to be you to carry, right?
Yeah.
Was that an easy decision to make? Sounds like it was just a really easy decision to make. Like there wasn't much conversation there, or was there?
Yeah, I don't think Vicky had like the desire.
I never had that
carry.
desire to carry. But of course, we did have the conversation. If she couldn't, then I would. You know, I was open to that.
And what about the biological connection? Were there any thoughts either way?
We were thinking maybe ask my brothers and then maybe like it could be Vicky's egg and then implant it or, you know, do the transfer to me. They were not down. So then we thought about using like a Filipino donor, and in the Filipino culture, it's like not a thing. So there was like no Asian donors. And then we even went into, at first when we were looking at donors, we were like going back and forth on whether it should be a known donor, a closed donor. We had ultimately decided on a known donor. And then we also were going through different donor websites where it was like only the baby picture, which is also like, that didn't sit well with me. We were like, okay, we want to see how they look as adults. So then we used this website, Zyzix, where we could see like it would be a known donor plus have a baby and an adult photo.
At first, you know, when we were going through the process, I did have like, it was momentary, but I remember having feelings of like a little bit of sadness that it wasn't going to be my own, you know, genetics in the picture. But that quickly went away. And it really, because just seeing this whole process and like going through, you know, the database and like reading even like the profiles, like I loved seeing that, like the essays from these, you know, men that were donating sperm, and just knowing that, you know, this family is made just from love in general, and that we could actually use, you know, I have a German background and actually part Arabic here. We couldn't find that any kind of mix like that, but we definitely found German, and we were just like so stoked, and it went away quickly for me, and glad it did.
We'll be right back.
Queer Family Podcast.
Hey, y'all. Hey, sorry for the interruption. I just want to take a moment to highlight our sponsor for this season, California Cryobank, the #1 sperm bank in the U.S. and the sperm bank that for over 45 years has been helping LGBTQIA plus folks fulfill their dreams of becoming parents, including yours truly. Both my babies were made through California Cryobank, and I love them for it. And I just want to mention that not only does California Cryobank have one of the largest selection of sperm donors, they also continue to make strides in being inclusive of the LGBTQIA plus community, like offering free vial transfer between partners, offering letters to support second parent adoption. And they continue to grow in that way. And this is one of the reasons why I love them. And I have a promo code that you can use to get a free level 2 subscription to their donor catalog. So you can start shopping now. You're just going to go to cryobank.com, use code LOVEISLOVE, and start looking for sperm. Why not? What do you got to lose? You can also use this promo code for a discount on a level 3 subscription as well. So go check them out. They're amazing. And let's make some babies, y'all. Let's raise up some good humans in the world. Okay, back to the show.
Love is love.
I do like to delve into that a bit because it is a common thing that happens, especially when, in our families, oftentimes, not every single time, but oftentimes one of us is not going to have a biological connection to one or all of our kids, right? And some of us struggle with that hardcore, and some of us don't at all, and some of us have kind of a, like what you're describing, Vicky. So I love to just dive into that. I think it's important that we talk about this. Is never talked about because there is not a space for it, right?
Right.
It's not even a part of any conversation. So thank you for going deep there. And so you were at a like a sperm bank, basically, right? You found your donor that kind of had a piece of you, Vicky, so that at least both of you can kind of be reflected in something of the child. And then we did some IUIs, sounds like.
Yeah, so we did some IUIs. Those didn't work. We tried for a year and a half, and a lot of it had to do with like the PCOS and the like up and down of like timing everything right. But I think the number one thing was stress. And so we had reached out to our friends again, and we decided to go down the IVF journey. So it's really incredible. Our friends told us about this clinic called CNY, and what I loved about them, like they were in the forefront of the IVF, like whole thing. And they take in so many people that travel. So, and then also they're in upstate New York. So they're like,
they were literally, so
from
after we
Vicky's
found
parents.
them, literally 15 minutes from my childhood home. And so we were like, wow, this is a no-brainer here. And they were the most cost-effective. So mind you, again, like our friend Darcy was taking us through her process and giving us the maximum way, like to do this at the, because imagine, again, we're starting this business, we don't have a lot of money here and it's very expensive. And so we ended up getting the drugs, internationally, to save there, I think that was, and again, times are different now, but it was like $5,000 for medication. And it was only $5,000 for New York.
It's still very difficult, especially for our families, because, most insurances have this clause that in order to get covered for fertility treatments, you have to prove that you're infertile by trying for 6 months. And that doesn't pertain to us. It's always like cost is always a barrier for us.
Yeah.
So, okay. So you got your drugs internationally.
Yep. And then CNY has this amazing like clause where they guarantee a live birth within the calendar year. So like if you're not successful on your first attempt, as long as you have viable embryos, they'll do another transfer for you.
Oh, okay.
Of course, we were going to do that. We actually decided, I took some time off of work and we stayed with Vicky's parents, and I did everything in-house. But they do have like awesome Facebook groups. I know a lot of women will do like all of their monitoring in their home state and then just travel for the transfer. Anyway, so we did the IUI, and my whole thought process, or the IVF process, and my whole thought was, if we're going to be here for 6 weeks, I want to maximize my opportunities. So we do IVF, and I opted the first time around. They were able to retrieve 10 eggs after the whole thawing process. I think 6 made it in the first stage. Yeah, which was really awesome. Then the day of transfer, we only had 4 left. And, they grade all of them. It's like level A, like grade B. I decided, because I wanted to maximize as many opportunities as possible, I wanted a fresh transfer with the B grade eggs. So, really interesting. And fresh transfers have like a lower percentage of success rate. So I figured, okay, let's just try this fresh. I didn't have like any big expectations because I knew that I at least want to be able to do something during the freezing process. So I do the fresh, I do the grade B, we put them in, and I ask them to put 2 in. They're like, that this means you could have multiples. I'm like, yeah, I just want as many opportunities as possible
to get one.
I was thinking we're going to have 1. Well, we're on like day 6, 7, 8, and I'm obsessed watching the CNY like app portal. And I see that my last 2 grade A embryos didn't make it.
So we literally had just these two.
inside of me.
That's
And
it.
I'm like, oh my God, this is like, I'm not going to be pregnant. This is terrible.
Can you imagine if you had froze those other two?
Right?
You don't know.
Right.
Like, who knows if
Right.
something happened in the process? Like,
Right.
oh,
Yeah.
woo.
Yes. So they didn't make it.
Wow.
I'm like online going on all these Facebook groups. Does anybody have any more medication? Because I'm thinking this is another 5,000. What am I going to do? I'm here all the way in New York. I need access to more drugs so that I can restart this whole process while we're here.
I just remember the welts on the back of her back, with those injections I was giving her every night. And,
Oh, you did them
she's
in the
just such
back,
a-
huh?
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
no, I did in the booty cheeks.
Yeah, right above the butt.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yep. But I just remember
both
the welts and like
mine
she
were
was
in
ready.
my belly.
Oh, you did in the
Oh.
belly? Man, they really
Mhm.
bubble up and then you like, yeah.
Ouch.
It was
It's
insane.
interesting. Mine didn't, and my
They
wife's
didn't?
didn't. I think it's everybody's bodies are just so different, right? So that's also something that needs to be normalized and talked
Yeah.
about, right?
Yeah. So I'm pumped full of these hormones. It's like 2-3 o'clock in the morning and I'm crying, telling Vicky, oh my God, our last two died. And I think in like the 6 a.m. hour, I go, you know what? I have a pregnancy test. And she goes, let's just try it. We try it. And
It was
I
like
am-
a day early or so. I
Yeah,
know
right.
we had to wait another day or two
Mhm.
actually.
Yeah.
And so
So at the 10-day mark, it was at the 10-day mark. Yeah, we peed on a stick and we woke up the whole house screaming and crying
yeah.
because we were so pregnant. And then we go and
Her levels were like so high. We're like, oh my God, could we really have twins? Could this actually
Oh
be?
my God.
Yeah.
and then
And I remember
her-
my
Oh
mom
my
coming with
God.
us and we went to the appointment and there we saw the two little pen marks
yeah,
with our twins.
We had
Oh
twin
my
girls.
God. Wait, let me ask you, this whole decision to put the grade B embryos in and fresh, was this all your idea? Or did
Charisse.
the clinic help in some way? Like, it's just, listen, I've talked to a lot of people about this very subject. And I don't think I've ever spoken to anybody who basically made the decision on their own and the doctors actually went with it, right? And it's just such an out of the box choice. So it was all you?
Yeah, I had just been doing so much research and I just figured they're pretty open. Like they were kind of steering away from the two because they have such high success rates of pregnancies. But I was pushing for the two and yeah, it was my idea. I don't know. It's like either I'm really good at these like A/B tests things or like
Literally, yeah.
it was just like something had
Yeah.
driven me
It's
to that
also-
decision.
I think Charisse just gets her way. I think there's something to that too. And
Thank
also,
you.
this is also just a real argument for being your own advocate.
Yeah, you got to advocate for
100%,
yourself.
Yep.
For many of us women, including I'm raising my hand real high, it is really hard, especially in a doctor's situation, to be our own advocates. It
Mhm.
is one of the most difficult things that I find for myself.
Yeah.
So I think that's really cool. They're
Oh, thank
badass.
you.
Good job.
Yeah.
And
thank
then you got your twins, and now you got some
Yeah.
twins.
Yeah,
Yes.
there's 6 now.
Yeah, and
Little
you know
sassy
what's
things.
crazy is like even the pregnancy was insane. I was so sick. One day I threw up 18 times. I was so sick
Oof.
the first trimester. I had one good week
Same.
and then I went to the high risk doctor because of the multiples and everything and I found out my cervix was opening up so early. So I was put
Uh-oh.
on bed rest at home for 5 weeks. And then we go to the high risk doctor again, and he's like, wow, it's really opening up. And he sent me to the hospital and they put me on 24/7 monitoring.
For 5 more weeks.
I was admitted and I was on 100% bed rest. I could only get up for 5 minutes to take a shower.
Yeah.
Oh my
And I
God.
had the girls at 29 and a half weeks. So what is that? Like 6.5 months.
Yeah. And it was terrifying. And I'll
Oh my
never
God,
forget
yeah.
because I was worried about her mental health. I had slept on that couch every night for those 5
Mhm.
weeks, and she was just like going nuts because she couldn't even leave the room to go outside. And it was that particular day that I had talked to the doctors because I'm like, I'm kind of worried about her. She's really down. Like, can we just get outside, like in a wheelchair for just like 5 minutes? And so the
Mhm.
doctor agreed and we went outside and I have a picture of that day and she was basking in the sun and so happy. And that was the night. So it was like 10 p.m. We're about to go to bed. And they were like, we can't find baby B. Let's go. And we had to do an emergency C-section. It was the scariest night.
Oh my God.
But yeah. And then the girls were in the NICU, because they were born at, Reese was 3.14 pounds and Tori was only 2
pounds, 14 ounces.
Yeah, 2 pounds, 14 ounces. So they were tiny little things and they were strong little things. They were in the NICU for another 5 weeks after that. So we were there visiting, every day, all day, it was wild times.
That is tough. That's some PTSD. And that's, oh my God, that's amazing. I mean, and thank goodness they are thriving and they made it, and that's awesome. And y'all made it through it.
Yes, we did.
Congrats.
Yeah.
And now they're little sassy things. I tell you what.
Exactly.
Now
they're driving you crazy.
Yeah. This is a story. Actually, this is funny. One of them, Tori, she's definitely a little sassy one. They're both the kindest, sweetest little souls. Yeah. But she always... She winks at everybody. She winks at her teacher. She winks as she's like walking everywhere. It's just so funny. It's very automatic for her. And it's always like the comedic timing is like on point. And the other day, Charisse is making waffles for everybody. And she goes, "Thanks for the waffles, gorgeous queen."
Oh my God.
These are the things that comes out of, their mouths.
Oh my God. So, okay. So what do they call you to?
So I'm Mama and Charisse is Mommy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's what we do. Except I'm Mama.
You're Mama, yeah.
And I ask everyone, what do you have any fun parenting stories as a queer couple? Any fun things that happen being queer out in these straight streets with your kids or anything like that?
I would just say, and it's not even it's like a sweet story, because I know that they came home and I think some kids were saying how come you have two moms? I think one of the responses that we heard that she had said is because I'm lucky. And that was it's so beautiful. And I just love, this is probably my favorite age so far. It's because they're just becoming their own little independent, things, and unique personalities are just shining. And it's just so exciting.
Yeah.
It was rough. I will say that, their baby ages, wow.
Yeah.
I'll never forget those times. But this is definitely just so fun. I want to keep them here though. I don't want to see teenage years and all that. Scares me.
What's interesting too is they're in kindergarten and one of their kindergarten friends had said to me, "My mom saw your mom's on TikTok." And so we live in a suburban area. I haven't seen any other same-sex families at the school. And it just reminds me of how important representation is and how many eyes are on us. So just because we're two moms, people are automatically going to be watching us. And now with the additional eyes of TikTok, people are going to be watching us a little bit more because we're Shark Tank, everything. Yeah. I think that because we may have more visibility than because of our brand, it's interesting because people are watching and we always have to remind ourselves people are going to generalize our behavior on the whole community. So that's a big responsibility that we don't take lightly. Yeah, I'm on the DEI committee at their PTA too. It's you always want to make sure that in any way that we can, that we're there for our girls. And we want to make sure that, this is for right now in 2024, it's a thing. But hopefully when our kids are older, it's a normalized thing where same-sex couples are just, it's okay to be gay.
Exactly. The normalization is everything. Visibility matters so much. Representation matters so much, especially for our children, right? Now that we have kids out there in the world, it's it has been stepped up a notch. And so I think that there are many of us out there, pushing hard to do just what you say. Let's get this normalized, get it normalized. We're just like everybody else, except we're better.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yes. Love that.
Well, okay. So let's talk about Dapper Boi a little bit. Tell us about what you're doing with it and what you're, tell us everything.
Yeah, we're in exciting times right now for sure. Obviously, you heard from the beginning, it was, Dapper Boi was created on our honeymoon. So it's been a ride, ever since. Being on Shark Tank a year ago, actually just the other day, it's been 1 year, was so huge for our brand. And although we didn't get a deal from a shark, it didn't matter because having a brand like ours on mainstream TV was like such a huge deal. We were walking hand in hand down that aisle, and that's a huge deal. Right. Even one of the stories we received, and this is in we always love to share stories from our customers. And there's two in particular that I'd love to share. And one being from that Shark Tank episode, there was a lesbian woman, and she said that her and her father were not speaking for years due to her lifestyle, right? But he was an avid Shark Tank watcher. And so after they had not spoken for years, he literally wrote her 3 words, check out Dapper Boi. And so that in itself, like for her to message us to tell us that story, just to like thank us, for like she felt seen by her father, that he was able to see that. And that's where change happens when you're in mainstream and they see that and they're like, wow, like that's such a big deal. This is
what I say all the time. This visibility and this representation matters so much. And we are not shown. Our stories are not out there. Our children's stories that they consume on TV do not represent our families in a positive, like it's few and far between, right? We have so far to go.
Right.
And it's in this podcast. I've been around over 6 years now. And it's still like getting real traction with mainstream is extremely hard. We push against so much, right? So I love that story. That's beautiful. That's amazing. And it matters.
It does. We're not trying to be, like, as much as we're happy for the brands that get into the Pride section in Target, it's a huge deal to do that. But we're not looking to be that, like that brand. This is like an everyday line based on body type and style preference. And that's it. We're proud lesbian owners, of course, and we will shout to the rooftops that we are that. But it's not about that. And I think, our whole goal is to be the next Levi's of all gender fashion. It's about style preference and body type, and that is it. And it's important to be seen in that way because, again, we're not looking to create this third category. We're just looking to be mainstream. And that's why I always say Levi's in particular, because it's that brand, that staple, denim line that's been around for so long. But things are changing. Over 50% of Gen Z shops outside of their gender. And so it is our time to do that. Yeah, it's exciting times for sure, but we're having a lot of these tough chats, even with, mainstream department stores. I was literally asked weeks ago, I went to a conference and I went up to at least 4 of these huge mainstream brands. And I said, listen, I don't know if we're ready for this chat. I just want you to know my face so that when we are, we'll have a very productive conversation. And so, literally one of them said, okay, you tell me, where would you go in a mainstream department store? And I said, I think it has to be baby steps. I think that men in particular are very triggered by words like gender, inclusive, things like that. They're not used to hearing that, even though we have 10% of our customers identify as men, and so people are coming to me all the time saying, Vicky, I have the same problem fitting into jeans, and so I think the best way to do it is baby steps, maybe keeping both sections just to start and having jeans in both departments. And that way they try them on, they feel them, they're not feeling segregated like we do all the damn time. And they try them on and then they start wow, these fit amazing. Now, I want to look into the brand a little bit more. Oh, wait, these are all gender. That's where these conversations start happening. Right. It's once mainstream's open to, trying these things without hearing oh, non-binary. Oh my God, that's scary as fuck. It's not, about that. And so I think that's where we go is that's the next step if people are open to that. But for right now, we're going to just focus on direct to consumer, less overhead for sure. Better margins than, going into a mainstream store. And we really focus on that customer experience. And no matter how big we get, our whole thing is we need to feel like you can always talk to us, that we are that personal community brand.
So where can everybody find you and Dapper Boi and start shopping? Let's go shopping, y'all.
Dapper Boi, and that's BOI.com. We're really active on Instagram. It's just at Dapper Boi. We're on TikTok, Dapper Boi Squad, and Facebook.
We did also start, because I think a lot of people, especially with Shark Tank, things like that, want to see more behind the brand kind of stuff. And so we started recently an Instagram page called Meet the Pasches. And that's like us, Charisse and I, even our family, sometimes we add the girls in, but it's like, showcasing behind the scenes, as we're traveling with this documentary that we're a part of right now called Show Her the Money. There's also, about the lack of funding for women founders, which is also a whole other rabbit hole we can go down. But it's just, it's really cool that we're being able to speak to customers in that way too. We're showing early products, things like that too. So Meet the Pasches is also on Instagram.
All right. So everybody has to go check them out and go shopping and get yourself some nice duds to wear.
Yeah.
And it'll all be in the show notes so everybody knows where to look. And I have one final question for you. One final question. And it's a deep one, so get ready.
All right.
It's a doozy. What does pride mean to you?
We answered this actually in a video. We did a whole segment about this. I think, for us in particular, and I don't want to speak for you, you can always chime in, but it is like just showing up your best self in such a, like, we have such a loving relationship and we want the world to see it. Kind of goes back into all the stories we had just talked about. Representation matters. And so no matter what people say, we'll always have pride in ourselves as a couple, our love with our daughters, and we're ready to show the world and also connect with our community. It's all about the community at the core of this all.
Yeah. I would say it's like accomplishments. When I think about pride, is like, we're just so proud of everything we've accomplished with our family. We have girls that are going out there and showing, like, just watching them turn into like real humans with these amazing personalities and how they show up, and they're so kind to everybody. I have so much pride in that, so much pride in my family. And I'm so proud of what we've done for Dapper Boi. Like, we have endless stories of how people are able to put on our jeans or our button-ups or our clothes, and they show up their most authentic self, because we're so proud that we get to create something together to help people represent on how they feel on the inside with how they feel on the outside. And for so many people in the LGBT community, it's like they feel like there's so many stereotypes and so many things put onto them because they've been labeled. But if we can help them in their journey of self-acceptance, of confidence, of being their, like, showing up proud in every room that they step into, that is what I call pride.
I think that's where confidence comes from. Like, completely, once you're able to be your authentic self and you don't care about anybody else anymore, that's when you feel the most proud. Being able to be your authentic self.
I love it. Everybody go check out Dapper Boi. Go get yourself some duds. And let's lift these two up. I love everything. Do you have anything else you wanted to add before we say goodbye?
Yeah, just to give like a little bit more detail on Dapper Boi, we're so proud to be offering jean sizes 26 to 52. Like, when we first started this brand, we knew that not everybody was a size 00 like model, like, we created this brand so a plus size person like my wife could feel confident walking into a room and they didn't have to compromise fit for fashion. Our tops are extra small all the way to 4XL. We want everyone to feel included in our brand. Also, like, check out our social media page, because we really want people to feel like they're part of our community. We're all about love and the good vibes. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us. This has been a blast.
But I love it. I love it. We gotta hit all the boxes that don't need to be there but are there.
Yes.
Thank you. This has been such a pleasure, and you are a part of my community now, so keep in touch.
Thank you so much.
All the time.
Queer Family Podcast.
Whew. Well, folks, I hope you enjoyed that episode as much as I enjoyed it. And if you did enjoy it, feel free to listen to another or watch another. I have so many episodes for your listening or viewing pleasure. Just go pick one and enjoy. There's a lot. There really is. And also, if you really do like this show, please, I know I say it all the time, but please do consider supporting the show on Patreon. You're just going to go to patreon.com/the Queer Family Podcast. You're going to pick a tier, you're going to join, and you're going to get that bonus content. And you're also going to get my love and adoration for the rest of my life. I love you all. Thanks for tuning in. Keep on tuning in, and I'll see you next time. Mwah.